Indiana Fever leadership, the president, talking about trying to build the Fever brand.
Like, this is embarrassing.
That shit should have never came out of her mouth in public.
They want to use Caitlin Clark fan base to uplift their franchise as a whole.
They don't mess up this Caitlin Clark situation. They will become the most valuable team in this country.
The Indiana Fever thought they could control the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. They thought they could bench her, silence her leadership, strip her of the spotlight, and fans would just accept it. But they were wrong. What started as a quiet locker room power move has exploded into a nationwide backlash. Fans are furious. Ratings are crashing. The front office is scrambling. And Caitlin Clark? She's been caught in the middle of a franchise collapse. But this isn't just about basketball. This is about control, sabotage, and a superstar being slowly erased from the team she built. So how did we get here? Who's really pulling the strings? And can the Fever fix this before it's too late? Stick around, because what's happening behind the scenes will shock you. In a stunning turn of events, the Indiana Fever have found themselves caught in the middle of a national controversy that's drawing scrutiny not just from WNBA fans, but from major media outlets, players, and sports insiders. What was supposed to be a historic and celebratory rookie season for Caitlin Clark has rapidly devolved into a franchise-defining crisis that exposes deep issues within the Fever's leadership, vision, and understanding of their own value. The trouble began with a quote that should have raised red flags immediately. Fever President Kelly Koskoff comparing her franchise's ambitions to Apple Incorporated, saying she wanted to build a lasting brand, not just a basketball team. For fans, this signaled something troubling. The front office didn't view Caitlin Clark as a player to build around, but a product to leverage. This wasn't about winning games. It was about building an image. That tone-deaf metaphor showed the Fever weren't ready for the cultural force they had on their hands. They didn't see Clark as a generational talent in need of nurturing. They saw a marketing tool, and they misplayed their hands so badly that now the entire franchise is on the verge of collapse. Koskoff's remarks weren't just poorly timed, they were emblematic of a deeper miscalculation that continues to haunt every decision this team makes, from press conferences to play calling. It would have been one thing if the front office had been hands-off and allowed Clark to shape the team on the court, but instead, their actions have told a very different story. The moment Clark arrived, expectations skyrocketed, and rightly so. This is a player who brought millions of new fans into women's basketball, shattered NCAA records, and turned previously empty WNBA arenas into packed, nationally televised events. Rather than embracing that momentum and building an offense around her elite vision and scoring ability, the coaching staff made the inexplicable decision to marginalize her. The pick-and-roll chemistry with Aaliyah Boston, which had been producing real results, was scrapped. Plays no longer ran through Clark. She was sent to the corner off-ball, reduced to a passive role that made no sense for someone who led the NCAA in assists and transformed offensive systems at Iowa. And when she displayed natural leadership, trying to energize her teammates in a huddle, the franchise sent in a performance psychologist, treating her emotion as a liability rather than a gift. That moment was particularly revealing. Here you have a young athlete showing passion and accountability in the middle of a game, and instead of backing her, they effectively told her to calm down and know her place. That's not development, that's suppression. It was at this point that fans realized the Fever weren't just fumbling the basketball side, they were actively sabotaging their own superstars' growth. The backlash was swift and fierce, but this wasn't the usual Twitter outrage cycle. This was organized resistance. Fans began filming huddles, analyzing body language, comparing playtime stats before and after each shift in strategy. Social media erupted with timelines, comparisons, and slow-motion breakdowns. Reddit threads popped up dissecting coaching decisions. YouTube creators started producing investigative videos with titles like "What's Wrong with Indiana?" and "The Sabotage of Caitlin Clark." This was a full-blown movement, not just about basketball, but about respect, agency, and visibility. What became clear was this: fans didn't just support Caitlin Clark, they were actively protecting her legacy and holding the Fever accountable for what they saw as malpractice. The The numbers were undeniable. With Clark on the floor, ratings skyrocketed, attendance soared, and merchandise flew off shelves. When she was sidelined or minimized, everything plummeted. One bold analysis noted that replacing Clark with Angel Reese would result in a 70% drop in viewership. Even a substitution with a fan favorite like Paige Buchers would only retain 40% of the audience. This wasn't disrespect toward other players. It was a reflection of Clark's unique cultural pull. She's not just an athlete. She's an icon in the making, a once-in-a-generation magnet for attention, investment, and belief in women's sports. And yet the Fever treated her like a liability. As the season progressed, cracks in the locker room began to show. Chemistry with Boston was gone. Offense became stagnant. Coaching decisions grew more erratic. Fans noted that even broadcasters began to hint that Clark was regressing, not due to her own shortcomings, but due to the system's failure to let her lead. The idea that the team wanted credit without acknowledging the source of their newfound relevance became a bitter pill for many. The media picked up on this disconnect, and now every press conference is met with skepticism. The front office, once quietly confident, is now scrambling. What's more disturbing is the implication that some in the organization view Clark's influence as a threat to their power rather than a gift to their future. That's not just short-sighted, it's self-destructive. And if she walks, it won't just be a roster change. It'll be an extinction event. The Indiana Fever as we know them, the headline-grabbing, nationally relevant team, will vanish. Back to 4,000-seat arenas. Back to zero media buzz. Back to being a team nobody outside of Indiana even remembers. And don't be fooled into thinking the NBA's Pacers could carry the Fever's relevance. The cultural lightning Caitlin Clark brings cannot be replicated. You can't build another Clark. You can't manufacture the loyalty she commands. So when analysts say that Indiana's window is closing, they mean it literally. Every day this franchise fails to course correct is a day closer to losing not just a player, but an identity. Clark's impact isn't theoretical. She's still tied for the league lead in assists. She's still averaging nearly 20 points per game. She's still the reason the WNBA has cracked new levels of relevance. So when the Fever act like they can afford to experiment with her role, fans see it for what it is: arrogance. The team thinks it can outmaneuver reality, but the truth is, Clark is the plan. There is no backup. There is no next Caitlin. And now, the very fans that lifted this team to national prominence are ready to turn on it, not out of pettiness, but out of principle. They feel betrayed. The message boards are calling for boycotts. Hashtags are trending. Even neutral media outlets are publishing op-eds questioning whether Indiana knows what it's doing. So where does that leave us? With a team that had everything: momentum, talent, attention, and is now throwing it all away. All because they couldn't recognize that sometimes the smartest move is to step back and let your star shine. The final warning is this: let Caitlin lead or watch this whole thing burn, because the clock's ticking. And the next time she walks into the locker room questioning her role, it might be the last time she wears that jersey.